at a lawyer-type program some years back in Orlando. This young lawyer walked up to me who'd seen me talking to Chuck Ehrhardt, and as I walked away, she asked if she could possibly take a photograph. And I said, certainly, and I started straightening my tie, and she said, no, I'm talking about him. As most of the state has experienced, I'm from Jacksonville, which is in the 4th Circuit, and recently, as a result of the 4th Circuit State Attorney's Office Integrity Unit approach, a decision was made to release, after a little over 40 years in prison, 2 individuals whom I had prosecuted for murder a long time ago. And it's not a warm position to be in that situation. When the media asked me how that could have possibly happened, I looked at the media right in the eye and I said, I had bad advice from Ehrhardt. So, Iowa Law School, Ladd Professor of Law at Florida State University after 2 years as an assistant U.S. attorney in the Northern District of Florida.
Northern District of Iowa.
Northern District of Iowa. And let me give the microphone to John. Book after book, treatise after treatise, lectures everywhere with the most distinguished voice and recognizable voice, and admittedly one of the more recognizable appearances. Former Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, former Chief Justice Maynard Harding said, quote, getting to know and be friends with Chuck Ehrhardt was a special addition to my coming to Tallahassee. I had heard his name, read many quotes by him while I was a judge in Jacksonville, and it was special to meet him and become his friend. And being a visiting professor at my alma mater, Wake Forest, made my smile extra large. Patsy Palmer, longtime very close friend of Chuck Ehrhardt, widow of Lifetime Achievement recipient Sandy Dallenberg, and she said that Sandy considered Chuck one of the great figures of Florida's legal community. Chuck brought the law to life for generations of students. He published and published, and he gave wise counsel to lawyers and judges, and was always wonderful company. And I borrow from local retired circuit judge Terry Lewis of the 2nd Circuit, close friend of our honoree, who said, quote, despite his exalted position in the profession and the acclaim he has deservedly received, he remains a humble, down-to-earth person we would all do well to emulate. The recognition is, and I quote, the Susan Rosenblatt Lifetime Achievement Award presented to Charles W. Ehrhardt. In recognition that he stands as the foremost authority on the Florida law of evidence, his incredible commitment to Florida State University's College of Law, his determination that the legal community of Florida is the standard bearer in the United States for professionalism in the practice of trial law, and as a mentor to students, practitioners, and the judiciary, coupled with his years of commitment to this historical society, this is awarded by unanimous consent of the Florida Supreme Court Historical Society Board of Trustees, January 16, 2025. And Chuck, I want to present to you this cheap glass thing because the original did not arrive by today, so you can pretend, you can give it to Judy and put it on the wall.
Thank you very much. I am truly honored by this, and I'm truly honored to see friends, longtime friends, judges, lawyers, who I've known forever and respected. As I look back at my life, 2 telephone calls that I received were very instrumental. As Hank said, I was an assistant U.S. attorney in Iowa, prosecuting federal crimes in Iowa. And in 1968, in the spring, I got a call in my office, in the U.S. Attorney's office. And some of you remember him, Mason Ladd, who was the first dean of the Florida State Law School, offered me a job on the faculty. I'm from Iowa. I'd seen, some of you may remember Where the Boys Are, the movie about Fort Lauderdale and spring break. No, I've heard of Tallahassee, but I'm a bachelor. And Dean Ladd talks at length about what a wonderful opportunity it would be for me to join the faculty down here. And if I don't accept immediately, he's going to offer it to somebody else. I'm young, naive, thinking about going to spring break. I finally say, Dean, I'd at least like to think about it overnight. And he says, that's fine, Chuck. If you promise me you'll call me back tomorrow and say yes. So I said, all right, Dean, I'll call you back in the morning and say yes. Not realizing that North Florida and Tallahassee existed. The other phone call I got was in the fall of 1972. It was from now retired Circuit Judge McFerrin Smith, who was then the executive director of the Florida Law Revision Council. It was a Saturday morning, and he said, can you come down to the law school right away? And I said, well, I don't know, what about? And he said, the Florida Law Revision Council wants to hire you to be the reporter and drafter of the Florida Evidence Code. Well, I hadn't thought about it. I didn't know what the Florida Law Revision Council was. I wasn't dressed very well. I came down to the law school. They interviewed me. And my longtime friend, Sandy Dallenberg, has always taken responsibility for himself that he made the motion to hire me to draft the Florida Evidence Code, which was a wonderful opportunity. Florida at the time had maybe 1 or 2 statutes. The rest was case law. Most things there wasn't any case law on. They were drafting the federal rules. The Florida Law Revision Council was a creature of the legislature. The legislature realized they couldn't draft complex litigation. Florida Law Revision Council was responsible for the first modern Corporation Act, the first modern probate code, the Florida Administrative Procedure Act, and so forth. And they took it upon themselves to draft Florida Evidence Code while the federal rules were being drafted. So for 3 or 4 years, I met with the drafting committee and drafted the Florida Evidence Code. Ben Overton was a circuit judge down in St. Pete. He appointed a group of circuit judges to meet with the drafting committee, including Parker Lee McDonald. The first time I met Parker Lee and Ben was drafting the evidence code. And there were plaintiffs' attorneys, defense lawyers, a wide variety of people obviously were interested in it. And there I was, meeting all those people and all those doors that were open to me. And then I had to go around the state and tell everybody what it said. So it was a wonderful and has been a wonderful opportunity for me. And I've been so fortunate and never dreamt, sitting in the U.S. Attorney's Office, that I'd be down in Florida talking about the Florida Evidence Code. Today, we talked in class, prior inconsistent statements. How do you get in a prior statement, Mr. So-and-so? Karlinski or Hogan or Thrasher? Oh, come on now, Mr. President. But I've been very fortunate. The third call, this is one I made rather than received, is fortunately I called over 50 years ago my wife Judy, and she has put up with me going out to do CLE and continuing judicial education all these years and been very supportive. And 1st of January, we celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. But thank you very much. I appreciate this award. I appreciate knowing you lawyers and judges. I'd rather be around lawyers and judges than any other group. I mean, I've never said, man, I wish I would have been a mechanical engineer. Thank you very much.